Your brain isn't ancient wisdom. Away from working, it's one number away. 2 in the morning. Cold pizza in one hand. You're 47 minutes deep into an article about why pigeons bob their heads. You didn't plan this. Nobody plans this. Your brain built a whole detour around the one thing you actually needed to do tonight. And it did it so smoothly you didn't notice until you were already gone. Most people call this laziness. It isn't. It's a physical mismatch between two systems in your skull. And once you understand what's actually happening, you stop needing motivation, rituals, or ancient wisdom. You need one number. Here's the mismatch. Deep in your brain sits a structure called the amygdala. Its entire job is threat detection. It cannot tell the difference between a predator and a project deadline. Both get flagged the same way. Avoid this now. At the same time, your prefrontal cortex, the part that plans and reasons, tries to step in. It knows the deadline matters more than comfort, but it's slower. It has to build a case. The amygdala doesn't build a case. It just fires. This isn't a personality flaw. Brain scans of people who chronically avoid hard tasks show something specific. Their amygdala is larger than average. And the connection between the amygdala and the region that regulates impulsive behavior is weaker than average. The alarm is louder, the brake is softer. That's not a character problem, that's wiring. So when you call yourself undisciplined, you're diagnosing the wrong organ. There's a second piece, and it explains why willpower keeps losing even when you know better. Your brain runs on a chemical called dopamine, and dopamine doesn't care about importance. It cares about distance. This is called temporal discounting. A task that pays off in 3 weeks feels almost worthless next to a notification that pays off in 3 seconds. Your brain isn't weighing what matters, it's weighing what's close, and close always wins. This is why knowing something matters has never once been enough to make you do it. Knowing lives in the prefrontal cortex. Doing needs a dopamine signal strong enough to beat the discount. Two different systems. They don't automatically talk to each other, so if this is biology, not character, what actually closes the gap? Not 5 stages? Not a metaphor about a flower in mud. One lever, and it's almost insultingly small. The amygdala escalates based on the size of a task, not its content. Open your laptop and look at an entire project, and the alarm fires before you've typed a word. But shrink the entry point down far enough and the alarm doesn't bother waking up. Not an hour, not 30 minutes, somewhere around 90 seconds. Open the file, write one sentence. Put one item away. That's not a technique from a monastery. That's just below the threshold where your threat system decides something is worth interrupting you over. Once you're in, the prefrontal cortex finally gets a turn because there's no longer a decision to make. You're already moving. The second half of this is removing the decision entirely. Researchers call this an implementation intention, and it's one of the only interventions in this field with consistent evidence behind it. Not I'll work on this today. Instead, when I sit down with coffee, I open the document. When my alarm goes off, I write for 10 minutes before I touch my phone. The trigger and the action get welded together in advance, so there's no moment left for the amygdala to hijack. None of this requires becoming a calmer person or a more disciplined one or a more patient one. It requires giving your prefrontal cortex a smaller fight to win before the faster, older system gets a vote. This isn't rare. Roughly 70% of students and 1 in 5 adults deal with this exact pattern. Not because they lack character, because nobody told them the fight was structural instead of moral. You've probably spent years trying to out-willpower a system that was never designed to be out-muscled. That fight was rigged before it started. So the next time you catch yourself building a detour toward folding laundry instead of starting the hard thing, don't ask what's wrong with you. Ask what the actual entry cost is and whether you can get it under 90 seconds. Most people will keep fighting their amygdala with willpower for the rest of their life and lose most of those fights. You now know which system you're actually up against, and it only takes one number to beat it.